Hey everybody, welcome back to the Ram Revival, and we've got a heck of a mess for you today. I've been trying to figure out what the best way to tackle this installment is, because I honestly just have a whole bunch of loose ends to sort of conglomerate into a hopefully decent video for you. And they're honestly mainly just loose ends, things we need to wrap up, tie up, some of them quite literally. And that begins with this mess that you see here in front of you. If you recall from one of the previous episodes, I decided to go ahead and sheathe or cover, if you will, the heater hoses. We did the one off the driver's side all the way back, and I mentioned when I cut it, I was using little Stavila scissors and then my channel lock, battery cable cutters, right? And so it works great, but the problem is the ends were sort of splaying out, right? Like this is what the cut end would look like. My solution to that was to run a cable tie. I've got it wrapped down in the truck. It looks fine. I really, for like a top end result, kind of want to heat shrink it. I think that would just look best and provide the best, longevity to prevent splaying or frayed ends. And as I was going through it, I was like, man, what are you supposed to do with this stuff? Because again, I've never worked with it. And it turns out you're supposed to use a hot knife. Now, I did not own a hot knife, so I had to buy a hot knife, and that's what we have here. And it turns out this needed 4 hands, basically, and I only have 2, unfortunately, and I assume most of you are in that same position. So basically, it's a 5-foot cord. I'm fine with that. I've got the handle end in my vise. The issue I had, and I had no idea about this until I was trying to measure the heat up temperatures and everything, this on-off switch, it has to constantly be depressed, right? If you want this thing to be on, you have to hold it. I get it, it's a safety feature. That does not work well at all for my application of just wanting to cut this braid. I don't have anything else to do with this at this point in time, aside from cut this stuff. So, what I did, I'd already figured out I'm gonna have to put in the vise, and then I wanted to be here and kind of, pull down, cut my braided material. So I use that little white thing back there. Again, cable tie would work. If you scoot this back, you could set something heavy on the switch, possibly. Lots of different ways you could wire it, if you want to. Again, I totally understand why it's like that. It just does not work for what I'm doing. Unless I had someone here to hold that while I cut, then it would be fine, but I don't. So as a one-man show, that was wire tied, cut it. It works really well. That's like my first and second cut with it. So what I want to do now is throw that down and run you over to the truck, sort of explain things. Alright, so as I was walking this way, I was like, I should probably show this thing. So that's what it actually looks like when it's not mounted upside down in a vise. Item number 60313. I'm not sure if this video will come out before the hot knife or if the hot knife video will be out before this video, but we'll have a standalone sort of unboxing and review on it. However, if you look in here, again, we'd already run some of this. That was probably important. I'm gonna have to figure out what that even was. Right there, you can see we're coming at, our little bypass tube, right? And then you can see my 2 cable ties there, which I did not cut off because I was wanting to heat shrink it. And what I'm gonna have to do is probably pull that and hot knife it, and then I want to do the heat shrink. That's gonna slow me down. It's the only reason I may not. But we sort of need to tackle that. Obviously on the passenger side, if I don't trip over anything or knock something off, you can kind of see it laid out over here too. And this side is not finished for the simple fact I needed a connector. I did not want to reuse the rusted, junked out factory connector after 20 years. So I ordered some in. A lot of this was delayed because of parts, and honestly I have not had any free time, unfortunately, but I've got that. I don't think it's mounted up or secured or anything, so we'll be able to pull that. I'll hot knife the end so it's a clean deal. I'm gonna see how quick I can get ourselves, some heat shrink that'll hopefully work. So that's something we needed to do. If you recall, on this coil wire, it'll dangle a little bit, and I wanted it to sort of sit up here, so I bought in some, are they on the tailgates? Where did I leave those? I know. Right here. Okay. So I brought these suckers in. They're just like the dirt cheap Summit ones. I don't really care what they look like. I'm mainly interested in that two-piecer there. On cylinder 2, I'm going to have that go up to the coil wire. I might use another one or like cut it down. Again, not concerned about this set at all. I want to say it costs like $7 or $8. Nothing major. So we're going to go to town on that end. I was torn also if I wanted plastic or brass. Brass is obviously the choice material, and so we brought both of those in. That will allow me to make the connection. And then the other thing, the lower radiator hose, which is this guy right here, not near as beefy as the factory, and there's no spring inside. I have tried and tried to find anyone that would sell, like even just a spring to me, like a universal spring, and no one does. So I've had to come up with my own way of making a spring, and that might be a standalone video. While I'm here at my parts pile from this order, this Derale stuff, it's 11/32 ID, okay, and high temp OEM spec. That's what we care about. It's recommended for transmission and engine. It's 4 feet. If you open it, it's going to be Continental. That may help some of you. But the reason that I went ahead and picked this up, if you've forgotten, which you very well may have, we'll come over here and run around, try not to trip over anything. Off my brake booster, okay, where you see that blue masking tape, left it there for a reason. It runs down, it goes under my fuel rail and to our Hughes Air Gap. That is tight. It is stretched really tight. From the factory, I don't even know if that comes out at an angle. I think it might go straight down and just kind of droop over. So that was 11/32 ID, I think. We're gonna have to find out. It should be correct. So I want to pull that and then cut something like 2 or so inches longer. That's all we need. And that should allow me to get the tightness out of there. That'll be good. The throttle body adapter going down to the intake, I don't know if you can tell, the bolts aren't there, and that's because, I think some may be, but I wanted stainless bolts, so we've got stainless bolts. We're going to put those in, and that may be what we do here. It'll just kind of depend time wise. Again, that upper radiator hose looks like trash. I'm really disappointed in it, and I don't understand. Like, Gates is usually like top tier stuff. The rest of everything I bought is Gates. It's looked fine. That just looks really bad. Like, that looks like it should be replaced. You know, bad. I don't know. They claim rubber's advanced and you don't need inner springs and stuff. You're obviously suction side down here, right? I don't agree with that. Like, I look at the factory hoses from 2001. They look phenomenal, and they look vastly superior to everything I brought in. So I'm still on the fence there. If I wind up getting the heat shrink and we have to wait, I may try to source like an MP hose for the upper radiator, lower at that point as well. But we'll see how all that pans out. Just while I'm thinking about it, and I was out here, I wanted to kind of get something cemented so I've got my thoughts and I can like pick back up. But that's honestly what it's been. I've been waiting on stupid little parts and needing free time. The reason I don't have the radiator or the fan or any of that stuff in is because I need to do those things, and they're so much easier for me to do when I can stand right here. So that's it. I had one of you say that I guess I complained about my creeper caster enough that one of you was like, hey, I've got a Napa Big Blue available. That is actually really tempting. It's a very good price. He said he just put it up on eBay. I was able to find it because it was the only one. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about it. I sort of want to try a creeper out before I like buy it. I know that probably sounds dumb, but like this one, you know, like seems fine when you roll around, but then when you're actually like working on stuff, I don't know how many times I've like pinched nerves in my shoulders and stuff the last 5 years. And it just, I don't know, it kind of makes you want to like go that extra mile and roll around on one in a store or on a truck somewhere and just get a feel for it. But anyway, maybe we'll have that done too, who knows. But I guess I'm going to leave it here for now, and again, we'll then accomplish things here as we start back up. It's actually pretty late right now. I'm going to have to run inside, work out, and shower, but I just wanted to get this documented again right down there where it terminates in front of the clamp. Maybe you can tell it's sort of like, you know, splayed out a bit more than a clean cut. So I'm gonna get my cable ties off, pull the hose, probably at the heater core side would be the easiest. Bottom line, I'm going to get that stuff off, hot knife it, rewrap it, hopefully have heat shrink, and then go to town. So I'll keep you posted, but again, these are the little, like, we're very, very close, but this is just like minor stuff. I don't want to cut corners. I want to go ahead and do it right, and that's what we're going to try to make happen. So we'll be back with hopefully some action for you to sort of wrap this one up. Alright, so this is the driver's side heater hose out of the truck. Looks really good, except at the ends. That is the radiator side, and then way back here, that's your heater core side, where you have that 90-degree bend. I tried once again the back two cable ties I put in place to stop that from spraying out like that. I could not get them to work free by squeezing the sides with the cable tie pliers wrench. It's not a huge loss because I also thought it would be cool to just have the cross hatching for better grip. But I will continue to play with it. It may very well be a special kind of cable tie. I don't exactly know. But what I'm going to do, that little thing there is like a firewall clamp. Don't pay attention to it. But I'm going to get my heater hose clamps off. Then I'm going to hot knife. I'll put the hot knife back in the vise. I'm going to cut that. And then I'm going to use this, which I guess I'll also need a hot knife. It's a really nice looking, let me pan back out for you, a braided heat shrink here. So I'm not going to use much at all. I tried to get, I think, 3 feet or something, but I'll probably just use about yay much. And hopefully, if my math is correct, it'll shrink down and it'll make a really nice professional looking seal for our heater hose cover. Oh yeah, I don't know that you can appreciate it just yet, but lost a little bit of length obviously on this end. Had to reverse order it, but this is looking super good. I'm gonna go ahead now and try to get some heat shrink on these ends and make it even better. All right, you ready for this? The big reveal. Boom, right here. We've got the passenger side, or I'm sorry, driver's side heater hose. Trying to gauge my distance there. I went ahead, I put a heat shrink seal over this just to hopefully prevent any future issues. I don't know that we would have had to. And then I did the same thing here. I'm not too terribly bummed about that going into straight rubber. I had it terminating originally here, you know, plenty of room for the clamp and everything anyway. But with it sprayed out as bad as it was on this side, I had to cut back quite a bit. And then I got to thinking about it. I had a nightmare of a time trying to take the clamp off just prior to doing this. So it's very dark back there. I had to hit the Astro to even see the clamp. So I don't think anyone's really going to see that. Plus, it just should give a better life to our cover, which looks sweet. So now what we need to do is get this installed in the truck. Then I need to pull the head off of the passenger side. I never made the post side because I lacked that brass connector that we're going to use since the factory one was corroded. So we will hot knife this stuff for that. We'll make our connection. We'll get our clamp set up. I'll go ahead and do the heat shrink. The 5160 force was not happening. And I think I tried to protect myself by buying like the next available sizes all around it. And it was 1 3/16. I really like this heat shrink. Man, this fly I do not like. But I know that's a bad example of it being on a 90 and everything. But like that is a braided heat shrink. It's like a really nice factory loom. But again, it's a heat shrink. So super cool stuff. As you can see, we didn't collapse the hoses or anything stupid. So this is probably the best looking heater hose I've ever seen that will be going on a 2nd gen Dodge Ram. So a little OP maybe, but it's one of those things, you know, when you do the work yourself, you can do stupid stuff like this that makes it different and unique. So I'm going to get this sucker installed, pull the other one, try to kill this fly, come back and crank out the passenger side. One of these things is not like the other. So towards the left hand side of the screen, we've got the one we just made. Our brand new heater hose, complete with a properly hot knifed cover, along with an overkill heat shrink that's super nice braided. And then to the right side of the screen, we've got the factory one. Now obviously it's got more of the correct contour for the vehicle right there, but which one do you prefer? I don't know. One does the job and, you know, blends in. The other one does the job, stands out just a little bit, and looks a lot better, and that fly has followed me. So anyway, I'm going to get that thing in. Just want to do a real quick comparison for you. I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. Are you ready for the reveal of ridiculous heater hoses for 2001 Dodge Ram? I hope so, because we're doing it right now. And, that's it. Big holdup, I had to wait on some parts, notably the heat shrink and everything. It's kind of overkill, kind of stupid, but it's also cool. And when you do things yourself, you can go the extra mile, do it how you want to. It's going to look a lot better, in my opinion, than the, just plain Jane rubber heater hoses. I spent a bit of time trying to figure this out. And if you zoom in here, you can see, obviously, I've harvested those clamps, but this just met up at a connector, was corroded, and I had this rigged where I could like Chinese finger trap it and get this clamp over the front run of hose so it would be like seamless. My worry there was, if you pay attention down here, you'll note that I've added like this heat shrink. It's cut with a hot knife and then I heat shrink it, kind of for protection type of a deal. I was afraid over time, maybe not the first time, you flush the heater core, maybe not the second time, but I was thinking eventually that would come back to be a problem, and instead of dealing with all that, I just went ahead, I left the exact gap for the hose clamp, kind of mic'd it in there, bare rubber, just so we have a good connection. Did the same thing back here, that'll be just for the heater core, no big issues there. This one I have going all the way because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but then up here where I'll have issues, like going down into the intake manifold, or down in this case to like the water pump tube, I left plenty of bare hose. You're not really going to see it. The main attraction, of course, will be what you see here, but I've got to say, like, if you sit back and compare, like factory versus our custom, I think it's a pretty nice little upgrade there. So gonna go ahead, I'll probably stick these things in, then I got to run in. It's Friday tomorrow, but I got to be to work early, so I'll go ahead and get this buttoned up, run in, make supper, work out, and call it a night. Alright, so ignore the masking tape and all the stuff that shouldn't be there, but check it out, we got our custom wrapped heater hoses in here. Again, also ignore the vacuum line, we haven't gotten to that yet. Will shortly. The problem I've got, I cannot find one of the clamps. As you know, I don't like gear worm style, I like the constant tension spring style. A factory, if you will. I don't know where it is. Seems like one night out here I remember something going flying. Maybe that's what it was. It's been a while, I just remember something flew and I don't know where it went. I was over at the workbench, I'll have to like check around under the duster, but I made it easy on myself. That is the one that I did not connect. So everything else back at the firewall, we are connected. This, which is a royal pain in the butt with everything back in place, is connected, and that's sadly going to be my stopping point for tonight. But right here in my hand we have this little gem here, so I am going to come in, we're going to clip it. Let's actually face the summit to the back, so I will hopefully not drop this thing, and try to hook my coil wire. I actually needed a second hand for that, so you can see it right there. I just went ahead and bumped it in as close as I could to the black holder. That gives us the maximum height. If you come out here, obviously the number 2 wire is running down towards the cylinder, the spark plug, so if I want to run another one here, I can cable tie it, whatever. The main thing, it's up, so it's not as likely to fall on a primary and burn. I suppose now I should reconnect this vacuum line that I got out of here. The PCV, that will be dealt with at some other point in time, but yeah, it's still got a few basic things I think for this episode. I shot off an email to get the exact torque, and I've not heard back from Hughes, so maybe they'll respond. It's been several days, so I'm not sure they will. If not, I'll just go with the size of the fastener, which I think is 5/16, so won't be anything too crazy. My big deal, there's a gasket there. I just didn't want to tear it up or have a vacuum leak that's then later hard to diagnose. So stainless fastener still to come there. We've got our vacuum line to the brake booster. We'll get a longer one, might wrap it, not sure. Good news is that's simple to deal with because it's a vacuum line. But yeah, that's sadly it for tonight, and guess I will turn out the lights. The party's over. Got to go have supper and get ready for another day at work. So Anyway, we'll be back, hopefully button up this part of the project. Alright, so another night out here, getting some tool hauls done, getting some paint drying, and we've got my stainless hardware, my beloved stainless, which looks so much better than this cheap grade 5 stuff down here sitting on the aluminum. So I hit Hughes up about what torque specs it should be. I couldn't find it in the instructions or anything. I thought, well, you know, there's a gasket there, I don't want to screw it up, and they just said use whatever factory is. Factory did not have a throttle body adapter. So I looked it up, and the throttle body screws factory were 19 foot-pounds, so I'm just going to go with 19, and if we have a vacuum leak, we'll, I guess, start here. But yeah, I'll just swap these out, get some never sees on them, and button everything down. With the, somewhere up here, there's a torque wrench. I'll have to dig it out, but yeah, next time you see it, we'll have bolts in all 4 corners, and we'll have stainless on the aluminum instead of the grade 5. Alright, so by way of this, where it would fit, the Capri with long Vera extension and 1/2 inch, the miniature Koken came in, and the SK and Capri 1/2 inch, we roughly got everything just tightened up, good as it probably should be. So, good luck getting anything torqued there. So, anyway, what we're going to move on to now is our brake booster vacuum line. This sucker coming in, again, it will fit, you can route it differently, but it's just insanely tight. So I grabbed some more 11/32 vacuum line, and I will rip this guy off. Oh, there's a clamp there. Good to know. And we will get that sucker tightened up. Alright, so that was actually a nightmare, believe it or not. Luckily, 5/16 T-handled hex keys banded out a little bit, and some WD-40 helped it glide, because that is a terrible predicament to be in with everything assembled. So got it over there again. I believe that's how it was with the factory coming down out of the brake booster. I don't exactly remember the routing here. If I noticed it burning or something on the valve cover, we'll try to stand it up. But it's just, there's the heater hose, there is the throttle cable, and then we've got the fuel line set up over here. Obviously coming off the rail, I cannot move that. That's a set location, kind of important to what we're doing. So everything in here is pretty well buttoned up, ready for the radiator and fan to go in, minus a clamp that we need right there. That's why I terminated that early, so we have some rubber down there. And I still have not found that stupid clamp, so I might have a gear worm clamp we could put on. The good news is I can lift that off, get it in. Spillage, I don't think it'd be an issue. I'm not 100% sure. If it was, wouldn't be too bad. Can clean it up, top it back off. But that said, we've kind of done what we needed to do in this episode, minus the clamp. We've got our custom decked heater hoses, which again, you know, there's not much light in here, but just that little splash of something, because so much gets occluded by all the boring necessary cables and vacuum lines and whatnot, AC crud, so it just brings a little splash of color, sort of draws your attention to it, and the fuel rails kind of eyes gravitate, you know, from there inward, if you will, or from throttle body outward, however you want to see it, but it's nice in my opinion. We got that little unforeseen issue taken care of. We got our stainless bolts. We've got it roughly torqued. Got our never sees on. Don't think I mentioned it, but I put the belt back on. That's about it. So I think this installment of the Ram Revival is roughly over. Hopefully I remember to get a clamp on that. The grill guard bolt, I'm just going to do that some other time. That way I can go ahead and edit and render this episode out. I'm going to get some of this stuff off of here. A couple of ratcheting wrenches, our Koken sockets, nut drivers, torque wrench, shears, cutters, just all kinds of stuff. I just want it off of there. Get my hose clamp pliers out of here. And I think, like I said, we ought to be ready to try to get the shroud, fan, and radiator in. I'm not sure the exact sequence we should do, but we'll try to make it happen. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully you're enjoying. As always, thanks for watching the Ram Revival. Try to have new episodes out every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Tool content typically Saturday mornings at 9. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whichever you prefer. All 3 at Lone Star Mopars. With that said, thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on all this stuff, and I will catch you back here for more action from the Ram Revival. late night update. Kept doing small things, screwing around in the shop, doing more coats of paint on the project, cutting down boxes, you get the idea. And I was just hell-bent on finding that clamp. Do you see it? Right underneath the belt. Right there. Yep, we found it. So I found the stupid clamp, got it buttoned up, and that truly completes this project. The heater hoses are connected. Everything is ready to go. I believe, like I said, we're ready to drop in the cooling system, if you will, all components. Fan, shroud, radiator. So we will move on that tomorrow and see what we can do. I'll probably clean up some as well. But stoked to have found that thing, because what led me to do it, I was thinking, okay, maybe I've got one sitting around somewhere. I was checking all my bins and part storage and boxes. I was looking actually for a gear worm clamp so I could just have it done and behind me and move on. I had a lot of gear worm clamps, but they're all for like fuel lines, you know, 1/4 to 3/8 basically. And lo and behold, I was like, okay, it flew off from the bench when I was, you know, building the heater lines and everything. It's got to be somewhere. So I busted out the lights. I was all underneath the cars. And from a distance, I thought I saw something by the kegger, and that's all the way underneath the duster, and that's where the clamp was. So super excited about that. It's like 10 something, haven't had supper. I'm gonna go remedy that real quick, and can't wait to get out here and hopefully make some more progress on the old truck. So stay tuned.